Welcome to my happy place. During a template tasting Friday that I did recently, it was suggested that maybe a short video on cutting techniques would be helpful. So here I am. All I did was I put a 10-inch square together here, very high contrast. Actually, you probably could see the bottom fabric through the top. Here's my reveal fabric. I still made my sandwich the same way. Here's the backing fabric, my batting, my reveal fabric, and then on the back of my top fabric, I used Templee Fuse. Now, there's a lot of other products out there. I have found Templee Fuse to be the best simply because one, it drapes beautiful. You don't have any stickiness and you don't have any added stiffness to your fabric. Two, it's just a superior product. So that's why I have gone strictly to that. And I've also never had any problems with my machine skipping stitches, etc., because of the fusible that I've had inside of it. What I want to do is I want to show you some different tools. These are a pair of snips. The brand is Fomore, okay, and they're, I believe, 4.5-inch snips. Now I've got another pair here that is much smaller, obviously. I have no idea what brand they are. I've had them for a very long time. They are still sharp. The Fomore are really nice and sharp when you get them also. I find it important to keep this protective end on it so you don't end up with poking yourself. So those are two options that we have available. Another one is, this comes from Quilter Select. I just found this not too long ago, and yes, it is a duck-billed scissors, but you'll notice the duck bill doesn't go all the way to the edge of the scissors, so it's got this nice sharp point right here that can be used as well. And they're curved. What the curved scissors do is, I believe, they make it just a little easier on your hands. Personally, I have rheumatoid arthritis, and so my hands do get tired quite easily. And I find when using the curved scissors, I can cut for a longer period of time more comfortably. So that's another option for us. These are another option. They're Kai scissors. Again, they have that little bit of a curve in them. They're extremely sharp, extremely pointy, as I hope you can see quite well here. I love them. I love my Kai scissors, definitely. The only thing I found with these are so pointy that sometimes they catch the reveal fabric. So you want to be cautious. You want to be cautious with any one of these. I'm just pointing out what I have found with them. You may not find the same issues that I have found. Okay, and these are from Mori. These are a small embroidery scissors. These are made to slip under the embroidery hoop and cut jump stitches. Again, very narrow, very pointy, very sharp, and again, the curve to make things easier on your hands. And these are very important tools, okay? I think the most important tool when we're starting to do Templee quilting is our seam ripper, sorry. I used to say cutter, same difference. You want the edge to be sharp and pointy like this is, and you want your seam ripper to be sharp, not dull. Seam rippers do wear out. I always tell my students that every year for your birthday, do yourself a favor, buy yourself a new seam ripper. I've actually had seam rippers that would no longer cut fabric. Actually, I had one that I used in a class not long ago, but I did throw it away when I got my new ones, simply because I didn't want to get them mixed up, end up in a class with a seam ripper that didn't work. So it is extremely important that you do have a sharp seam ripper, and this will also help you prevent any mishaps. If you have a seam ripper that's a little on the dull side, you're tempted to push harder on it. When you do, you may end up cutting in areas you don't want to cut. So let's get to the important part here. Let's get to cutting. I used the Bloom template. I did it in one orientation on 4 points. I did it in the opposite orientation on 4 points. So this leads us to have a really wide array of cutting options. Now what I like to do when I cut is I like to go in and I like to mark. And so I'm going to cut here, 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 and here on that particular bloom. And then I think I will cut, this is a tough decision to make sometimes, but I think what I'll do is I'll cut these out as well on these 4 rotations. There we go. You can always go back and cut more, but remember, once you start, you really need to fit all the rotations in so that you don't look cattywampus. Okay? What I'd like you to do is go to the edge of your block where you know it's going to be cut away. Go ahead and stick your seam ripper in there and make sure you've only got 1 layer or 2 layers if you're doing a 2-layer cutout. Put your seam ripper through the fabric and wiggle it around and see what it feels like. Okay? Remember that feeling. You're going to remember it. And then go ahead and do it through 2 layers. And see what that feels like. Just wiggle around a little bit. There will be a distinct difference. Definitely will be a distinct difference. I'm very fortunate on this one because the fabric is so light on top. I can actually kind of almost see my seam ripper under there. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to poke my seam ripper in my top fabric. I'm going to feel it. It feels like I may have both layers under there, so I'm going to pull it back. There we go. Now I know I only have 1. And there we go. I've gone ahead and made my cut. And I like to do this first all the way around. Okay, there we go. And that's, again, the first one. One of these I'm going to show you how I fix a mistake if I make one, okay? Because it's not a matter of if it happens, it's going to be a matter of when it happens, and it will happen. And there we go, I've cut 2. Okay, I did not intend to do that. So what I'm going, well, actually I did because I'm teaching you how to do it, but normally I would not do that on purpose. Okay, 2 more I've got to cut. Oops, and again I have had both of those layers, and because I can feel how 1 layer of fabric feels or how 2 layers of fabric feel, well, I was able to avoid cutting both layers. And we'll do 1 more. Okay, and there we go. That's my 1 layer. So now I have all of my areas of Templee cut so that I know where I'm going to be snipping it out. Let's start first with the Kai scissors. Again, what I like about these scissors is they are so sharp and so pointy, but as you can see, they're actually kind of grabbing the reveal fabric. So to do it, I want to make small cuts and I want to move the scissors kind of back and forth. Okay? And we're just going to make real tiny cuts here. When you're making your cuts, you always want to leave a little bit of area with fabric on. And now what I'm going to do is I will go over to my favorite tool, okay? These are just my favorite tool. And we're going to move that block around, and I move it around a lot. Now with these curved blades, what you might assume is you would want the blade to go with the curve of the pattern. I have found that not to be really overly successful. I find it easier for me if I hold the curve in the opposite direction of the curve of the area that I'm cutting. So back here, I do like to hold the fabric that I've already cut, and I'm just holding it out of the way. I am not pulling on it. Please do not pull on it, because if you do, you can rip that fabric in a direction that you don't want it to go. And the other thing that I like to do is make sure that when I'm holding my scissors, or snips, I'm holding them straight up and down. I don't have them on an angle either direction. Straight up and down. It's a good habit to get into, and what that will do is you will learn where your margin, your cutting margin is. And if you hold those snips in the same direction each time, your cutting margin is going to come out absolutely beautiful. If you have a problem with your cutting margin, let's say we did that there, okay? You see how that's too big? I'm going to come back here and I'm going to finish this up. Finish cutting this area. There we go. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll come back here and I'll just clean this up. It's not a problem. There we go. See how easy that is? Just absolutely a piece of cake. Okay, so let's do one more. This one's going to be a little different shape. So again, I'm going to make that first cut. I'm going to go ahead and with my snips, I'm going to turn the block a lot. Oops, I actually needed to get just another little tiny bit closer. And I'm very fortunate because the tip of these cut very well. I wish I knew what the brand was because I'd order more. I've had these a very long time. They're still very, very sharp. And if I knew the brand, I'd tell you. Okay, I don't even remember where I got them from. I've had them so long. You see how beautiful that cuts? Now what you're going to notice is here, I'm going to have to go back on that one little area and go back and clean that up here as well. And that's no problem. It's always better to cut a little less and go back and clean it up than it is to cut too much, because you can't put that fabric back. Once it's cut, it's gone forever. Okay, the reason that we like to leave a little bit of a border on the outside of the stitches is to, one, ensure the integrity of the stitches. So you'll see here where I want to just come back, make a little snip there and there, pull that thread out, and you see how sharp that is? Beautiful. Just beautiful. Now what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to cut it too close on purpose, okay? I am actually going to go in and I'm going to cut right at that stitching line. And what's going to happen when I cut right at that stitching line is that now I have opened myself up for a plethora of problems to come. Normally, it would be in the area of when I wash it, that fabric can actually pull out of the stitching. Okay, so let me see if I can get it around here. I'm going to do a little bit more. Right on that stitching line. There we go. Looks nice? Yeah, definitely looks nice. No doubt about that. Okay, and we're going to come here and we're going to do right into that stitching line. Now, ideally, the fusible is going to keep that from coming out, okay? But if you've got a blanket or a quilt, that's going to be used a lot, what could happen is you could actually end up like this. It can pull that fabric right out from under those stitches. So that's why I think it's important to go ahead and keep this extra area here. Then the fusible is going to fuse this down, okay, and it's not going to pull back. So now let's find that one that I cut through both layers of fabric. And that would be this one. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come and I am going to cut away my Templee area, okay? Again, get my scissors in there. I'm going to leave a border. The more time that you take with this, I believe the better your results are going to be. If you try to rush through this, it's going to show that you are rushing through it. Your border won't be nice and even here, I see a place where I need to go in and just clean that up. And it's quite easy to do that. There we go. And get her across here. And almost there. I kind of like, this is the Bloom template. Like I said, I used 4 rotations in one orientation and 4 rotations in the other rotation. Something I've been wanting to try out, and this is the perfect opportunity. Okay, so now you'll see here what I've got is I've got edges that need to be fixed. And I got a little bit of fraying here, so I'm going to just take that out. What you can do is you can actually come to an area of your quilt that's your quilt block that's going to be cut off. Okay, I may not be successful in getting this really easily here. I usually keep just extra pieces so that I can just tear them off. Oh, almost got it. And okay, so this isn't going to work too well on that area. Let's see. Actually, what I did with this one is I cut the Templee fuse the exact same size as my block. Normally I don't do that. So it's a lot easier to pick up an end. Okay, so I'm going to put you on hold for a second while I grab a piece, okay? Okay, we're back. So this is what I'm talking about. I keep these little scraps or little pieces that I cut off here, and I like to hang on to them, and specifically for issues that I have if I cut underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little piece about the size I need, which is right about there. I'm going to take it off of the backing paper, and it comes off that easy. Okay, I hope you can see that well. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my block again. Surprise, surprise. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this across the halfway mark. My cut will be halfway into where my fuse is cut. And I'm going to open that cut up, and I'm just going to lay that Templee fuse in there. And as I do that, I'm holding the other side of it. I don't want to stick the whole piece in on one side because that would defeat the purpose. I'll go ahead and get that in. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the point of my snips and just push it in there. Pull this up, and to finish getting it underneath that area that I cut. There we go. Now I'm going to put you on hold while I take it to the iron, and I'm going to iron it closed. Okay, so I have pressed it down, and you can see that it's there but not very well. And if you have a busy fabric for your Templee, which most of us like to have, it will not show at all. So that's some instruction on cutting away our designs. I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope that you can leave me a note. Let me know if you found this to be helpful. Any other types of videos you want us to make, and I always like to hear from you. So post your pictures and let me know how you're doing with it. And I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoy bringing it to you. So until we meet next time, let's quilt.